Chilling Night Ride, 3 terrifying tales from the darkness. Immerse yourself in the thrilling world of Night Drive horror stories. Witness firsthand Lucas's encounter with a mysterious woman in eternal echoes of the haunted woods. Join Mark on an eerie journey down an unfamiliar road in The Vanished Highway. Step into the unsettling realm of the Whispering Navigation alongside Emily and Alex. Get ready for gripping tales that will keep you hooked. Night Drive Horror Stories, an unforgettable experience you won't want to miss. The eternal echoes of the haunted woods. On a stormy and fog-covered night, Lucas found himself alone on a deserted country road. The headlights of his car sliced through the darkness as he noticed a figure by the roadside. He hesitated, then pulled over to take a closer look. It was a young woman, draped in a worn-out coat and drenched by raindrops. Her eyes were fixed on the ground as Lucas rolled down the window and asked,
"Are you okay?"
She slowly lifted her head, and Lucas could see her face in the glow of his car's interior lights. Her eyes were an unusually pale and cloudy shade, and her smile seemed pained.
"I apologize for the intrusion,"
she said softly.
"I'm headed to a remote village. Could you possibly give me a lift?"
Lucas regarded the young woman skeptically.
"Which village?"
he inquired. His thoughts swirled as he tried to make sense of the situation.
"It's not too far from here,"
she replied, her smile widening almost too much.
"It's deep in the woods. You know, a place not many are familiar with."
A knot formed in Lucas's stomach. The place she referred to was off the beaten path. Reluctantly, he agreed, and she got into his car. During the drive, silence reigned, with only the sound of raindrops and the occasional squeak of the old vehicle's parts audible. The woman seemed lost in thought at times, her gaze wandering out the window into the darkness of the night. As they drove further, the fog thickened and the road grew narrower. Lucas felt a strange tension in the air. He tried to turn on the radio, but all that came through the speakers was an eerie static.
"Please turn around,"
Lucas finally said as he realized he had lost his bearings. The woman turned her head toward him, her eyes gleaming in the darkness.
"We're almost there,"
she whispered. A disconcerting feeling washed over Lucas. He noticed his phone had no signal. The road continued to wind through the forest, and he felt trapped in a labyrinth. Suddenly, an unsettling whisper echoed from all directions. The woman began to hum softly, an unfamiliar tune that quickened Lucas's heartbeat. Struggling to fight off panic, he desperately searched for an exit.
"Turn around immediately,"
Lucas shouted, but the woman merely laughed. Her laughter was cold and piercing, as if cutting through the darkness. Then in a blink, the woman disappeared from his sight, his gaze momentarily diverted from the road. The car continued to move forward, and Lucas was helpless to stop it. The road abruptly ended, and the car slowly rolled into darkness. Lucas stepped out of the car and surveyed his surroundings. He was alone in an isolated area, nameless and devoid of any signs of a road or human presence. The woman's words echoed in his mind as he futilely sought an escape. The night enveloped him in blackness, and Lucas realized he was ensnared in a trap from which there was no escape. The young woman was not what she appeared to be, and he had fallen under her eerie spell. The fog swallowed everything, and Lucas vanished into the abyss as the night's whispers closed in around him. The Vanished Highway. In the shroud of night, Mark found himself behind the wheel of his car. The road ahead stretched wide and familiar, the car's headlights piercing through the darkness. Yet an indescribable unease settled within him, an inexplicable urge to deviate from his usual route. Without a moment's hesitation, Mark maneuvered the car onto an unfamiliar road, one he had never traversed before. A sense of bewilderment washed over him as he took in the unfamiliar scenery. The road lay eerily abandoned, devoid of any other vehicles. The trees lining the path appeared almost unnaturally silent, as though concealing some enigmatic secret. Hours ticked away, and Mark continued to drive without faltering. However, with each passing mile, the surroundings grew progressively stranger. The landscape remained eerily unchanged, as if caught in a temporal stasis, and Mark felt himself trapped within an endless loop. The unease that had taken root within him deepened with each passing mile. Desperately, Mark searched for an exit, a sign of civilization, anything to anchor him to the familiar. Yet the road stretched unfaltering before him, a disorienting tunnel into the unknown. The trees assumed uncanny shapes, their shadows taking on an almost sinister aspect. The air held a palpable charge, as if heralding a storm that never materialized. Exhaustion weighed heavily on Mark's eyelids, yet he refused to relent. He felt ensnared, ensconced in an unexplainable spell woven by this endless road. His attempts to use his phone for assistance were met with frustration, as no signal materialized. The silence that enveloped him became almost oppressive, with only his breath and the faint hum of the car's engine piercing the quiet. Suddenly, a distant glimmer caught Mark's attention, a feeble light shimmering against the darkness. His heart quickened as he approached the source. Drawing nearer, he recognized the outline of an abandoned gas station, its neon sign flickering intermittently. A sliver of hope ignited within him, urging him to step out of the car and approach the dilapidated structure. Upon entering, an unsettling stillness hung in the air. The interior was bereft of life, the shelves barren. An inexplicable sense of unease prickled at the back of Mark's neck. Abruptly, a voice, soft yet menacing, whispered through the silence.
Welcome, Mark.
Startled, Mark spun around, searching for the source of the voice, yet finding no one. His pulse quickened, doubts wriggling their way into his thoughts. The atmosphere grew heavy, suffused with an uncanny sensation of being watched. With resolve, Mark sprinted back to the safety of his car, determined to escape this disconcerting trap. But as he reached the vehicle, his heart sank. The road he had followed had vanished, leaving behind an abyss of nothingness. Panic surged within him as he grappled with the realization of his predicament, trapped in an eerie void. The darkness consumed him, the whispers echoing ever louder, a symphony of uncertainty. Mark understood he was ensnared within an inescapable labyrinth. The night held him in its clutches, and Mark melded into the road, a fragment of an eternity without origin or end. The familiar world had mutated into an unsettling landscape, a realm where awakening seemed unattainable. The Whispering Navigation, a journey into the unknown. In a pitch-black night, Emily and Alex, a couple deeply in love, navigated their way through the impenetrable forest. The subtle glow of their headlights pierced the darkness, and the soft crunch of gravel under the tires created the soul soundscape. Yet, the anticipation of the weekend faded rapidly as their navigation system suddenly deviated from the intended route.
The route is being updated,
resonated the calm voice of the navigation system, followed by an unexpected directive.
Please turn right.
The road ahead was narrow and enveloped by dense woods. Emily and Alex exchanged a skeptical glance but chose to heed the GPS. After all, uncharted paths sometimes led to the most thrilling adventures. With each curve, the road seemed to tighten, and the forest appeared to close in around them. An eerie isolation set in. The navigation device suggested an abandoned country road, and then the device's voice began issuing strange instructions.
Please turn left and follow the whispering trees.
The artificial voice resonated, almost as if whispering itself. Though Emily was uneasy, curiosity outweighed her reservations. They made the left turn and proceeded onto a path scarcely distinguishable as a road. The leaves of the trees rustled in an eerie melody that echoed oddly in Emily's ears.
Please turn right and follow the shimmering light,
the GPS instructed next. Amidst the trees, they noticed a distant pale glow. It pulled them as if it held a concealed revelation. As they followed the shimmering light, night grew denser. The trees thickened and took on an eerie quality, and visibility decreased. Emily's heart raced, and a sense of impending doom settled in.
Straight into the darkness.
Straight into the darkness, the navigation impelled, as the shimmering light dimmed. Darkness enveloped them like an impenetrable curtain, and it felt as if they were hurtling into an abyss. Suddenly, silence reigned. No engine sounds, no voice from the navigation system. Emily and Alex were ensnared in the darkness, surrounded by an eerie stillness. Panic gripped them as they tried to use their phones to call for help, but there was no signal. Minutes stretched into hours, blurring the line between reality and nightmare. The darkness turned palpable, an impenetrable fog of madness that consumed their thoughts. Whispering voices seemed to seep from the darkness, and shadows danced at the periphery of their vision. Eventually, they heard the voice of the navigation system again, distorted and menacing this time.
Welcome to eternity.
In a desperate act of survival instinct, Emily and Alex flung open the car doors and fled. They stumbled through the darkness, disoriented, unable to escape the eerie clutches of the forest. As dawn broke, search parties finally found them, pale and bewildered. Relief was overwhelming, yet Emily and Alex could never truly explain what had transpired on that fateful night. Memories of the whispering navigation and the nightmarish spiral of darkness and insanity haunted them in dreams and thoughts for the rest of their lives. Which of the stories touched you the most? Perhaps you have had a similar experience yourself. Write it in the comments below the video. If you want scary stories regularly, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell.